As the U.S. Senate race creeps closer to November, CBS 21 News is sitting down with the candidates while they move along the campaign trail.
This week, CBS 21's Annie McCormick sat down with Pennsylvania's 7th District Congressman and the current Democratic nominee, Joe Sestak. Annie joins us live with the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Harrisburg. And Annie, the congressman has had quite a week here with controversial ads against him.
That's right, Robin. It seems that controversial ads have really been a big part of the campaign, both before and after the primary. We talked to him about that, but also about what he wants to do for Pennsylvanians. Since the very beginning of his campaign, Congressman Joe Sestak has called some ads against him false and the people behind them liars.
When he calls me a liar, that's out of bounds. I want an apology.
Senator Arlen Specter famously asked for an apology during their debate, where Sestak claims Specter's ad about his dismissal from the Navy were untrue. Sestak never apologized. Now, months later, he is again slamming a new ad by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
There were several parts of that ad that were absolutely false.
The ad, which paints Sestak as Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's puppet, says, quote, he gives it 100% to Nancy Pelosi. Sestak says he's only voted with her about 97% of the time, but the U.S. Chamber of Commerce trumps Sestak by saying on issues of health care, economic stimulus, and energy, he voted alongside her. That argument beat Sestak's try at having the ad pulled from the air. Besides that, his camp has called a number of other ads, some backed by Toomey, as inaccurate.
If Congressman Toomey wants to talk about how to solve our problems, let's do it. But when anybody puts up an ad that isn't factually correct, of course we're going to correct the facts.
In our talk yesterday, Sestak says he wants to focus on showing what he can do for Pennsylvanians.
I want to make sure people understand I'm going to look at the facts, work with Republicans, independents, Democrats alike to solve our problems in a pragmatic way.
He says he remains focused on helping businesses boom.
The real focus has to be on small businesses. They're the ones who need the tax credits because that's where the majority of Pennsylvanians work, and they're the ones that create jobs.
Toomey's camp paints Sestak as a far-left liberal. Sestak blames Toomey for the country's deficit.
We have enough Wall Street senators. What we need is someone who's in it for the working families.
Sestak, a retired 3-star naval admiral, says he also focused on the transparency at veterans' hospitals, forcing the public records to be easily accessible about the conditions. But for the remainder of this campaign, he says he wants it to remain positive, and so far has not released any attack ads against Toomey, and says he doesn't plan on doing so.
I thought Congressman Toomey would debate the differences we have and not put up false, misleading ads. I'm hoping eventually that he'll recognize Pennsylvanians aren't going to put up for this.
Annie, you mentioned story there, and it's really clear in many of the ads that Toomey has against Sestak that they call him a liberal. How does the congressman feel about that? Does he consider himself a liberal candidate?
No, he doesn't, Tanya. In fact, after we had an interview with him, he spoke at a press club luncheon at the Hilton, and when he was asked if he was a liberal there, he says he doesn't think of himself that way. Now, Toomey's camp, in the ads, many of the ads that we have seen, they cite his voting records. They say his vote on the stimulus. They say that he voted for it. He wanted to be even more. He wanted to be $1 trillion. They said that also his votes on government-run health care show that he is a liberal. They're showing that his voting track record shows that he is a liberal. Well, in fact, one of the ads that he has argued that he also doesn't agree with, that Toomey put out just a couple weeks ago that was actually running on our air, says that he wanted to ban private health care. He says that there is a little bit of truth to that. He says he doesn't want to ban private health care, but in the bill that he voted for, there was a small part of it that had that in it. But he said the bulk of the bill was a good one, so he voted for it so it would go through. But he says himself and a group of other congressmen made sure that that part of that bill didn't make it through, so nobody could actually vote on it. So he says that the fact that they're running that ad, in fact, isn't true. And that's one of the bigger ads where Toomey is trying to show that he is, in fact, a liberal. But he says he is not. And now it seems he's really trying to distance himself from Nancy Pelosi, of course, because the ad that we talked about in that piece, the one that he tried to have pulled, and in fact was pulled for a short time off of some of the stations in the Pittsburgh area, but of course is back on the air now.
All right. Thank you, Annie. Certainly shaping up to be an interesting race here. We'll have to see how it pans out in November. Appreciate the report.
CBS 21 has requested an interview with the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Pat Toomey, but we do expect, I should say, to have a one-on-one with him very soon for you. We'll get the other side for you.
Well, a pair of wildfires